Okay. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you all to the planning meeting today and anyone watching via the webcast. Committee members, please be aware we are all on camera and you may be visible on screen when people around you are speaking. Please remember to speak clearly into your microphones. I have had no request for people to speak Welsh today, so this meeting will be conducted in English only. Please can all mobile phones and other noisy devices be put on silent. If there is an emergency alarm, please follow the green signs and go to the ground floor of the Civic Car Park. Thank you. We go to the agenda. 1, attendance and apologies. Any apologies? Rachel?
Yes, I've received apologies from Councillor Bevan, Councillor Burnett, Councillor Jones, Faye Jones, Councillor Overton.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. Over to Polly.
Firstly, can I remind members that you need to complete the declaration of interest form in the attendance register folder if you're declaring an interest in any application. The following interests are to be declared. Agenda item 5 relating to former Pontypool Hospital site, Hospital Road, Pontypool. Councillors Norma Parish and Councillors Gaynor James declare a personal non-prejudicial interest in agenda item 5 as members of Pontypool Community Council, which has been consulted on the application. And then in relation to agenda item 6, grass verge at the High Street, Pontypool. Again, Councillors Norma Parish and Councillor Gaynor James declare a personal non-prejudicial interest in agenda item 6 as members of Pontypool Community Council, which has been consulted on the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Polly. Would you like to introduce yourselves now? I know Polly's already spoken. Would you like to start?
Polly Ellis, I'm a solicitor with the Council.
Rachel Beale from Democratic Services.
Richard Lewis, Head of Planning. Paul Wilden, Group Leader, Highway Development.
Norman Jones, Team Leader, Planning.
Rebecca McAndrew, Principal Planner.
Sarah Hensby, Senior Planner.
Thank you. Item agenda 3, minutes of Planning Committee meeting of the 21st of May 2019. Do we all agree they're a true record? Thank you. Any questions, comments on those minutes? No. Okay, we go to item 4, which is a planning appeal decision of application 19/appeal/01 REF. Site address 12 Harvard Close, Pontypool, Cwmbran. And the development was new dwelling within existing garden, revised application from application 18/P/0113 FUL with updated flood consequences report, and as you can see, the decision was dismissed. Question?
Move that the recommendation be noted, please.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder for that?
Yeah,
seconded. Right. Show of hands. Right. We all note this appeal decision. Thank you very much. We go to item 5, which is application 16/P/0018. And the proposal is for residential development comprising 34 houses and associated road access points and infrastructure. The site address is former Pontypool Hospital site, Hospital Road, Pontnewydd. And Rebecca McAndrew now will present this application for committee. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Chair. Members will recall that a site visit was carried out recently to this site as the former Pontypool Hospital in Pontypool outline application for 34 dwellings with access and layout to be considered at this time. The application was originally reported to committee in September 2016 and members resolved to approve the application subject to Section 106 at that time. There's been a delay in signing the Section 106 as there were discussions about what the exact requirements of that Section 106 would be. Those issues have now been resolved and the applicant would like to progress the application through to determination. So, here we go. If I just run through the proposed layout. So the access would be off Hospital Road, mainly terrace properties through the site, children's play area within the site, pedestrian link down to the footpath that runs up the side of the site from Hospital Road to Lee Road at the top. New footpath along Hospital Road will be provided, traffic calming on Hospital Road and some rearrangement of the traffic calming on Lee Road. There are protected trees on the site which will be retained with the development and we're happy that they can be retained safely with the proposed development. There's been 15 neighbour comments as part of the application when it was originally consulted upon. And the local members also sent some comments in that she's had from different local residents more recently. The comments made include highway safety, comments, potential impacts upon the protected trees, overdevelopment of the site, reduction of property values in the area because of the development, poor pedestrian access to the site, and someone's queried about whether the ground on the site is stable, and then somebody's also said that a thoughtful development would improve the area rather than it being left as it is. In terms of the Section 106 proposed for the site, it's SPG compliant. It's 25% affordable housing, which includes 80% rented and 20% intermediate. A children's play area, £179 per dwelling above the threshold of 25 dwellings, so we get £179 for the extra 9 dwellings towards children's play area off-site, and £1,136 per dwelling for adult recreation. So here's some artist impressions of what the site could like. Obviously it's just blocks now because it's reserved matters and the properties would come forward at a later date. There's a reserved matter. Just showing here how it's a sloping site. So you can see the existing and proposed ground levels. So the properties would be terrace properties with integral garages, some of them to accommodate the parking, which would be meet our standards. And here's some photos. So this is Lee Road at the top. This is stood on Hospital Road looking into the site, so Lee Road behind. I mean, the site's quite vegetated now after the demolition some years ago of the hospital. And this is looking down Hospital Road, so there'd be a footpath going down here. That's the access into the site there. The protected trees which would be retained. Again, this is stood where the access would be to the site looking up to Lee Road. And this down the bottom is the about 5 or 6 years ago, which is what one of the local residents was very concerned about. Some excavation works were undertaken on site, which destabilised the road to the rear. There was a bit of a problem there in terms of earthworks being undertaken. The highways engineers confirmed that that's all solved now, that problem, and that in the future, to avoid that again, that could be controlled by highways legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Any questions? 2 questions, Stuart and then Veronica.
Yes. Number 1 was what's an intermediate unit? I've never seen that one before. I'm intrigued by that. The other was a comment, really, was this is all affordable, 25% affordable and 80% socially rentable, which and that's where I got the intermediate. I was looking at that. That's one aspect. The other was the whole business about that road, and Paul, the business with the traffic measures around there. I mean, we noticed that when we were stood there, it was extremely busy. And, I mean, for want of a better expression, there was large vehicles going around there up to the school and back. And this application says it on there, I know, but I think we need to be very clear as a planning committee about the measures that we're putting in there for pedestrians. Can you further elaborate on that, if you would, please, sir?
Page 32.
Page 32, yeah. So the bit of that about socially rentable and affordable is one bit of it. The other bit about getting through the site and going down the site, because that was obviously something we as planning committee noticed when we were out on the visit.
Right, thank you for that. Rebecca, and then perhaps the Highways Officer will come in with the... Thank you.
So the affordable housing provision on the site would be 25%, and that would include 80% socially rented, and then the intermediate units are the Help to Buy.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And then shall I just run through here before Paul comes in terms of the footpath would go down the front of the site here. And then this year is the pedestrian route from within the site. And there's this existing track that runs off Hospital Road up to Lee Road. So there'd be an internal access from the site down to that as well. So there's pedestrian links in that area. Thank you. I don't know if you want to say anything, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Chair. If you look at the plan, you can also see a system of traffic calming coming down Hospital Road. The footpath, and I agree the footpath network isn't particularly good in that area. The footpath would come down to the corner, but because we're doing some traffic calming there, I think there is some opportunity to do a little bit more work to sort of dedicate a route around the bend. I know it's paint on the road, but it is a recognised system. Unfortunately, there isn't sufficient room there to continue that footway further down. So we are thinking of doing some additional work there as part of the traffic calming works.
Yeah. Yes, Stuart?
So would this be coming out of 106, or would that be using for the park area? I don't know what we're doing with that.
That would actually be when this comes in for a full design check. Basically, this drawing indicates what we would propose there, but I have suggested some additional work, which isn't a substantial amount of work. But when we enter into a highways agreement, we can put that package of works as part of the highway agreement. It won't be in that grassed area. Because we can get a footway right down to the bottom. Can you see the bottom of the green area where it goes into a triangle? We can get the footway right the way down to that point down the bottom. But as you go further down, it goes around a bend. And what I wanted to do was try and extend the footway edge with a white line in the carriageway. And you see it with pedestrians drawn within that area. So at least it gives some people that are driving up that road some warning that this is an area that is for pedestrians. So take care, in effect.
Can I come back with just one very quick?
Yes.
Would that give you linkage right down to the bottom to get you down into town, as it were?
We'd get it as far as we can go, but I understand that the footway network quite a way further south from this development site is not particularly good. So we'd try and take it as far as we could where it would link as best we can into the network, recognising that it's not ideal.
Right, Veronica and then Gwen.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Chair. It's for questions for Paul again. Unfortunately, I missed the site meeting, otherwise I would have raised it then. I'm not entirely sure, looking at that, and from what I recall of the road, which at one stage I used quite regularly, When you get to the junction between Lee Road and Hospital Road, I believe it talks of displays not exceeding 900 millimetres. Is that's, you know, if people decided to put shrubs there, what would you do about that?
That is, that junction has actually already been improved. It was done a number of years ago. There is a condition on the planning consent that conditions the height of any shrubs or anything that will grow within the display area, so we can control that from a planning standpoint. There are also things that we can do from a highway standpoint as well to ensure that any bushes or shrubs don't grow out over the area. And there is a footpath going along that the top road, which is Lee Road, which is quite wide in any event, which gives a good viewing platform.
Thank you for that. So the houses will be sufficiently set back for people to be able to see quite clearly around that bend?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right, thank you. Gwen?
Yeah, 2 points on that. As Norma just said, the top part there, to the left, as you turn to the right at the top, you've got a blind one on the left-hand side. Now, we have purposely directed our coaches to go up Pennygarn rather than use that road because of residents' concerns, as a favour. But when you go up the top there, I don't think there's nothing you can do about it. It's definitely blind on the left-hand side because you start to swing around and sometimes, you know what they like today, they don't know what 30 mile an hour is. There, that's my concern. The other concern is the bend. Right? You really need a lot of foresight on that bend because you've got two vehicles coming towards each other and one of them got to back off. Is there any way you could do it like lamp hoist? You could have a traffic calming so they can see come in. You know what I mean? The one way when they come through, they got priority, or same as Victoria Village going down Harper's Road. Consideration.
Yeah. Point taken. Yeah, the traffic calming proposal that we've got there is a certain value in monetary terms. So if we can tweak that in some way within the 278 agreement to make something work a bit better there, we will certainly look at that. This isn't cast in stone that those humps have got to go exactly where you see them there. There is scope to do something, and we will take a look at it. I looked at this quite a few years ago, and it was awful difficult to try and get something in on that corner where people approaching in both directions can see something. So I will take a look at it, and if we can do something there, we will. I can't promise you that I can do exactly what you said, but we will take a look at it, because there is scope within the highways agreement to vary it. But the monetary value really has got to be there or thereabouts. It isn't as if I could say, okay, you can go a lot further now. That's not the case, but we'll look at it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Right, any more questions? No? Anybody ready to make a proposal? Stuart?
I'll propose it for me.
And I'll second it.
Right, we've had a proposer and a seconder. Can you turn the microphones off, please? Thank you. Well, a proposer and a seconder. Can we have a show of hands for those who approve it? Right. That looks unanimous. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No, that was unanimous. This planning application has been approved. Right, we go to item 6 on the agenda, which is application number 19/P/0287 PNT. The proposal is for installation of a 17.5mm slimline Jupiter column supporting 3 number shrouded antennas, 1 number transmission dish, 2 number equipment cabinets, 1 number meter cabinet, and ancillary development here too. Site address, Grassverge, High Street, Pontypool. And Sarah Hensby now will present this, but this has had approval prior approval, so approval isn't required. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Chair. As just outlined, this is a prior notification where the local authority are required to determine if the site and appearance is required for the mast. The mast actually is permitted development. The site is located on highway land, grass verge, this position here, and it's actually off the A4043 to the west of the Tesco car park. The proposed mast is 17.5 metres high with 2 ground cabinets. The mast would be shared with Telefonica and Vodafone. The design and the position of the equipment have already been provided. This elevation actually shows the actual proposed mast with 3 antennae which are within this shroud and an actual dish, and then the cabinets on the ground. In addition, they've provided us with a block plan showing the actual siting on the highway verge. So on these photos here, the actual location would be in this position. These properties here are the nearest residential properties, which are actually 26 metres away from the actual application site. And as you can see, there's quite a gradient on the site, which actually continues to go up the street, the high street. Given that the details have been provided, it's recommended that prior approval not be requested, which means that the development can proceed, but only in accordance with the details that have actually already submitted. So basically, they'd have permission then to implement the scheme as submitted here. Thank you, Chair.
Veronica, do you want to ask a question?
Chair, looking at the recommendation, do we just need to note this?
No, it is a decision to be taken. It's permitted development, but because of the legislation, it requires that members have to determine whether or not prior approval is required to just the siting of it and the design of it. So our recommendation is that that prior approval isn't required because as officers we're happy with the design of it and the location of it, and therefore we're recommending to members that they accept that.
Okay, Veronica. Gaynor, do you want to say something?
Yes, Chair, thanks. It's not a question. I just wanted to say that I haven't had any complaints because I actually live near there. I haven't had any complaints about anybody about this application, and it's well needed, and I would like to see it approved.
Thank you, Gaynor. Jason, you want to come in?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Two quick questions. What does ancillary development refer to? Because that seems like quite a broad catch-all statement. And I'd like to know, on that drawing there, that seems to differ from the photograph where you showed it on quite a slope. So I wondered if what the difference is. Thank you.
Sorry, the ancillary equipment is basically the cabinets and the actual dish. The top of the actual mast, there's actually 3 antennas within that which are shrouded, so that's the actual equipment. So what we have here is actually all the equipment that's the ancillary equipment.
The term they use was ancillary development. That suggests like they're doing something to the ground rather than just installing equipment. As long as they're not, then that's fine.
It is the equipment that they're installing.
Right, thank you. Anyone
In
else?
terms of the
got a
second question then, this is just a cross-section taken from the High Street, so that effectively because it's taken from one point, obviously I've got photos across there, so that's actually from the parking area in front of the Maisonettes. So depending on where you stand on the hill, you get a different perspective of where the actual gradient is. So that's the position there. So this is more of the actual accurate in terms of where that actual elevation is taken from. So this is actually from, the bottom picture is actually taken from High Street, so the mass would be going in there.
The next slide one's that one there.
Yeah.
So if it's going on that patch of land, it would go clear to complete.
Right, okay, it would be at the top there. So the actual subway underneath towards the town centre is at this end, and that's looking up the hill, so you can see the gradient more steep, but it continues to go up, as you can see from the other pictures where I'm actually taking the pictures looking down the hill as well.
Right, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Lenny?
Yes, like Gaynor, I haven't received any complaints over this development, and I fully support it with bad signal received in some parts of Pontypool Town Centre. It's a necessity. So I will be supporting the officer's recommendation.
Right, thank you for that. Somebody going to propose? Seconder, all those in approval? That looks unanimous again. Anyone against? Abstentions? No, that was unanimous. This application has been approved, and that concludes the meeting for today. Thank you all for your attendance.